So I'm going to show you how to actually create new features, edit new features, sort of this editing tips and tricks. So I added my land class just to make sure we have something to work with. But I'm going to start with an empty area, and I'm going to go to my start editing options and start editing from the editor toolbar, and I'm going to create a new polygon, which is what this feature class is anyways. So I'm going to create something really quick and dirty and double click and to stop editing. So I created some feature. So if you want to add attributes and you have a column already set up for it, I'm going to click on the attributes, which is at the end of the toolbar of the end of the editor toolbar, and I'm going to type in neighborhood maybe. Okay, so you see how we can actually add features instead of actually going into the attribute table, scrolling down to the one and entering the same value here. We can actually use it. You can actually edit it right here in the attributes pop-up window. So similarly, you have some advanced editing options, like let's say the first thing is copy. So if I select a feature, I want to make multiple copies of this, I'm going to click on select make copies. I'm going to click here, and it's going to copy multiple it's going to make copies of the same. It's like sort of like if you are developing like a neighborhood and you are adding maybe like houses, cookie cutter houses, you can just use this option. So I'm gonna undo, and what I'm gonna show now is what if I want to merge this feature with let's say I drawn a square here and I've drawn a circle, which are two other, maybe this is land, some other kind of buffer, or maybe some other zone. I want to clip these features so that they don't overlap. So I'm gonna say and go to clip. So I'm gonna use the buffer distance of 0. See what happens now. So now if I actually move these around, see what happened? The clipping feature was my circle. So all the features have been clipped which are intersected by the circle. So if you select maybe multiple features, actually let's see, if I select this feature now, the main feature that I've drawn, and select clip, and now you see what happened? You see how the clip function works now, right? And there are other features too, like if I want to later I decided the neighborhood zone has to be a combination of these two features. So I'm gonna select these two, and I'm gonna say, actually let's deselect so that you know what's being selected clearly, and I want to merge these two things. I'm gonna say merge, and you can see what's being combined to what. So you can say I want to combine the square feature to actually the original feature. So I'm gonna click that and click OK, and now you see what happened. It's gonna be merged into one big feature. You can do the same thing with your circle. I'm gonna draw another circle here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create something called deselect. First select these two and say something called intersect. What's gonna happen is it's gonna create separate features for the overlapping. It's gonna create separate features for the ones which have been overlapping. If you can move this around, you see what happened here? It created the overlapping features into one separate layer. So it's kind of useful, and you can probably use that to actually clip your other features. I'm going to select that and say clip. So now what happens is I did not select that. Anyways, I'm gonna show you something a little more useful, which is like, okay, what if this is a pond? and this is a river. Okay, this actually, just imagine that this is a river. Okay, and I want to create a buffer of 500 feet around this so that there will be no development. And what I'm gonna do is click on editor and say buffer, and you can enter your distance here, and the distance you enter is gonna be in inches. Just remember that. So convert your 500 feet into inches and enter it here. I'm gonna go with 1000 inches. So see what happened? There is a new feature that's been created. I'm gonna make it hollow though so that you can see. You see what happened there? We have created a buffer. If you deselect, you see, yeah, there is a buffer for 1000 inches around this feature. So similarly, you can work with, you can create buffers around different features and around, like, maybe flood zones and rivers and ponds and forests and streets maybe. And what if you have a street? Okay, let's go to a street, and actually let's turn the land class on, and there is a street, and I want to select all the interstates, and I'm gonna do that. I want to create a buffer around this interstate. How do I do that? So I'm gonna say create a buffer of maybe 10,000. See what happened there? We just created a buffer around the streets in the land class layer, not in the city road, but still selecting the features within the city actually helped us create a buffer around the roads. Yeah, you see what we just did there, right? So similarly, and since these are different, we created 100 different features. What I'm going to do is go to editor and say merge all these into one feature so that I have a single feature instead of 10,000 different features around the interstates. So that zone is going to be dedicated to something else, maybe industrial development, or maybe noise buffer zone or something like that, so that people don't hear noises from the interstate. So things like that. And what if I wanted to create a new shape which is actually exactly snapping into this? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on my pencil and go to snapping, and I'm gonna say snap to all the features within land class, so that I snap to the edge of all these features. So you see now what happened, and I'm gonna zoom to this so that I can create it with more precision. I'm gonna click on that, click on the, so it's gonna snap. You see how the blue circle is actually going to the closest feature it's found. So now I can actually quite easily create features which are not overlapping. You see what I mean? And this is another way of actually creating new features.